In this lecture, we're going to be talking about the concept of social plasticity, using social exercises for neuroplasticity. And we already talked before about the importance of society and your social circle on the neuroplasticity and the connection between neurons and the formation of neural networks. And eventually, society and environment are linked, and most of the times they're complementary. So by mastering some exercises that you do in your social circle, when you understand some of the concepts, some of the information that you need to know, this awareness will guide you in the right path. Human beings are basically a social species. Now, when we say society, we say interpersonal relationships. We talk about a group of people sharing the same geographical or social territory. The concept of society is explained through different theories, through, of course, the theories of evolution, where human beings evolved naturally as social beings because they needed to belong to something. And that's why there's a famous quote that says, "Humans are by nature social animals." And of course, we are hardwired to be social animals. When we talked about how genes can affect your brain and can affect your neuroplasticity, obviously, different genes will lead to different structures in the brain and different neural networks. And through evolution, human beings were safer together. If they ever encountered any danger, there's several people, and it makes it easier for them to overcome the danger. If there's one person by himself and there's a tiger in front of him who wants to attack him, most likely the tiger is going to win. But if there's 40 people in a village and they see a tiger and they put many resources together, they build things together, houses, and they get weapons to defend themselves, human beings evolved in that way. And with evolution, our brain was altered. We formed a neural network that makes us social beings. Now, of course, a lot of problems can happen with these genes, and that explains why some people are more social than others, others are less social. Some people hate seeing other people. Some people just don't want to deal with anyone. And this difference is, of course, linked to the fact that genes don't stay the same. There's an entire variety of genes, and each and every person who has a gene structure related to society, he has his own proper gene structure when it comes to his concept of society, and he acts differently. Now, when we talk about the concept that genes don't stay the same, we are talking about a long-term process. Evolution doesn't happen overnight. It takes years for it to happen. It takes a very long time, and it takes a lot of time to become effective. And what's happening nowadays is we still are social animals. Most of the people nowadays are saying that millennials are the first generation to start moving away from society and just lock themselves up in their rooms and spend their time on their phone, on Netflix, on their computer, and that's it. They don't want to go out of the house. They don't want to meet new people. They're just closed up on themselves. And the big misconception there is to think that they don't want to be part of society. We are hardwired to be social beings, and we are. But the difference is technology, and we're going to talk more about it later. But what's happening is their social structure is not out there in the world anymore, but it's on their phone. Every single person they know, they can talk to them and socialize in a matter of seconds. They can FaceTime them, do a Skype phone call, they can just call them regularly, they can send them texts, and they can see what they're uploading on Instagram and Facebook. And this became their little society. And then when they look around and they see the external society where, for example, life is not as good, your close friends are not close to you and you don't have anybody to hang out with, well, maybe it's happening because you're spending most of your time on your phone. So what's happening right now is if we keep up on the same pace. The generation that's coming after the millennials are going to be even worse. You see 2 years old and 3-year-olds kids who are just sitting for hours and hours and hours on their tablet, on their phone, and on the computer, watching stuff, texting people. And with repetition, generation after generation, what's going to happen? Well, of course, this is where evolution steps in. And then it's going to become hardwired in their brain that the concept of society and being our natures, social beings, it's not out there in the world, but it's in the phone and what you do on your computer. This is where your society is. And who knows, even further, with virtual reality expanding that fast and all the technologies happening around us and augmented reality, we might get to a point where we can do much more through our devices. But going back to our subject, we are social animals, and our social life shapes most of our mental structure. Without society, the mind wouldn't progress the way it's progressing and won't suffer abnormal structures the way it's suffering. Because it's society that brings experiences, it's society that brings a lot of memories. It's society that makes you use your motor skills a lot. It's society that teaches you things. When you close your eyes and you think about your best memories, you're probably going to think about people more than moments. You're going to remember the people, and then you're going to remember the moments. Nobody would ever have a memory of a tree they saw, unless it's one of the most astonishing trees you've ever seen in your life. But otherwise, most of the times, we remember human beings, and groups of human beings are only found in societies. Now, all the things you also learned in your life, whether it's actually somebody teaching you something, or your experiences in life that taught you lessons, most of the times, it's because of social interaction. When somebody teaches you math, and it expands the logical side of your brain, if you were born by yourself and nobody would teach you these things, you will never develop the same logic that you developed when you were learning math. And in fact, research showed that we now recognize the considerable impact of social structures on the operations of the brain and the body. If you look at bodybuilders 100 years ago and you look at bodybuilders today, there's a big difference, of course. One of them is due to all the new supplements and drugs that athletes can use or bodybuilders can use, but also it's because of society's effect on them. Growing up in an Instagram, Facebook world, where usually the perfect image, the people who are popular and making it big, are the people who have money, who have nice bodies, and they show it off, and they work out, and they post their workout on Instagram and Facebook, and they get thousands of likes. And we are social animals, so we are going to follow. We are going to mirror what's going on in our society. We're not going to go against it. If we go against it, we are opposing society, and therefore we will have a lot of trouble with our social interactions. And of course, nobody likes to have social discomfort, social problems, especially with their day-to-day interactions. Now, as this is progressing from generation to generation, where if social networks did not end at one point, and then it's going to start becoming hardwired in their brains, and of course hardwired in their children's brains, and then it's going to keep moving on until eventually it might start changing the body structure. Because we're putting a lot of pressure and putting a lot of weights on our bodies, maybe our bodies will evolve in a way where people will be born with a different physical structure. Even if it's minimal things that we can't really notice, at least in the short term, but from an evolution point of view, it's in fact possible. And these social factors operate on the individual through a continuous interplay of neuroendocrine, metabolic, and immune factors on brain and body, in which the brain is the central regulatory organ and also a mealable target of these factors. And just to make the ideas clearer, I'm going to include an article that talks about the effect of porn on the brain and the body. You're going to find that it's really interesting. If you've never read about it before, you're going to be astonished by how much porn only is changing our brain and our body. So now, moving on to the exercises. And the first exercise is called the mirroring exercise. We all have somebody we look up to, and every behavior we have or want to have is already in someone else's mental structure. Mirror your way into it. If your dream is to become a basketball player, look at Stephen Curry, for example, and if you look up to him, start mirroring everything he's doing. There are a lot of videos actually that shows how much the technique of Curry is close to Kobe Bryant. And of course, nobody ever asked about it, but is it possible that when Curry was growing up, he was so influenced by Kobe Bryant as he was one of the best basketball players? So he mirrored him until it got to a point where he has the same techniques as Kobe, exactly the same techniques, same release, same jump, same movement. And we all know if, for example, your brother is your role model, and your brother is an Abercrombie & Fitch model who has a startup company making him good money, and he just lives his life and he has tattoos all over his body. Well, most of the times, if you really look up to him and he has this huge influence that he's an idol for you, you will adapt the same behavior. You will do the same things he's doing, and then both of you will have very similar brain structures when it comes to the neuroplasticity concept and how neurons were connected and how neural networks were formed. Now here's the issue. Try to sit in front of someone and look at them every now and then. As soon as you see them looking back at you, just yawn for 3 seconds. And you know what's going to happen. They're going to yawn because by nature, we sometimes imitate a lot of behavior without being even conscious about it. When we yawn, especially when we're tired, it means that we're breathing slowly and our lungs need more oxygen. And when we yawn, we're getting more oxygen in because our body needs it. Now, when the other person sees you yawning and he knows that you're getting more oxygen in by instinct, he will replicate the behavior. And it's absolutely fascinating. But going back to the problem, it is on a subconscious level. Most of the times, you're not conscious of it. But now that you understand it, you need to start looking up to people who have same aspirations and dreams, or people who got to where you want to get or close to where you want to get. So if you want to become a boxer, you need to look up to professional boxers who are dominating and not look up to your friend who sits on the couch 7 hours a day eating Doritos and watching Netflix. And of course, no judging. Every single person has his own goals in life, and everybody lives his life the way he wants to. And if you're happy, good for you. But as a person who wants to become a boxer, you cannot mirror this person. You need to mirror somebody whose goals and aspirations aligns with yours, because his behavior is leading him towards his goals and his dreams. And if you replicate this behavior, most probably you'll be able to get there as well. Moving on to the next exercise. And again, we're going to talk about technology, but a bit more in depth. I'm adding a URL that will redirect you to a YouTube video. It's Simon Sinek's speech about millennials. And of course, we all know that millennials are influenced by technology the most between all the different generations. So of course, there's a big question mark around several questions on the effect of technology on social structures. However, most of the research showed that social media and smartphones had a severe negative impact on social structures. As we said before, moving society from the external society into your phone is you disrupting the social structure. When we talk about social structure, we talk about the general rule what we call today as society. Maybe in 100 days, society would be different. When we talk about social structure, we're talking about something more related to technology. But for now, social structures are obvious. It's the external world. People are getting trapped in their phone and they're just not paying attention to the external world. And instead of going to the mall and buying a few things you needed, you can just be laying on your bed and order everything on Amazon, get a cheaper price, and get them delivered the next day. And only through Amazon, people are going out less. People used to go out because they wanted to get things. And of course, when you go out to get things, there are going to be way more people out there. You might interact with them. Just going to the store and picking up some stuff and going to the cashier and saying, "How are you doing? I'm doing good. How are you? I'm good, thank you. This is how much you need to pay, debit, credit, whatever. You finish, have a good day." This is you having social interaction. And if every time you ordered something on Amazon, you did that, you went out and you got your stuff and you had some social interaction, I think on average, people would have 20 to 30 more social interaction experiences. And this is necessary. When we talked about consistency, we said that when there's a certain neural network forming that you don't want it to form, if you reduce the consistency and start skipping days, you will disrupt the link between the neurons and the neural structure. So if you keep ordering stuff on Amazon every single time, it's going to become hardwired in your brain, and then you're not going to feel comfortable going out and buying something because you can just do it on Amazon and it's much easier and more efficient. But when you order something on Amazon and then the next 2 times you need things, you would go out, then the next time you would order on Amazon, then it's not becoming hardwired in your brain. You're keeping both of them, and both of them is good because they go along with the social structure. You're going along with your generation, and in the same time, you're going along with the social structures that are crucial. Social structures have always been a positive on human beings, but this social structure, which is your smartphone, hasn't done a lot of good so far. So the exercise would be to not keep up this consistency. Try to get out of this prison, this social media and technology related prison that's changing our behavior and making it worse. And I'm not asking you to throw your phone away, and I'm not asking you for anything. Basically, if you want to work out with neuroplasticity in the right way, you need to do the following exercise. And what the exercise consists of is the following. You identify a piece of technology, an app, or software that is blocking a lot of your social interactions, and then try to balance it out. Try to not always use it with consistency, because then it's going to become hardwired in your brain, and that's not good. That's not what we want. Technology is amazing and it's changing our lives every single day, but we need to know how to balance it out. A lot of researchers are talking now about, of course, the VR technology is absolutely stunning, but researchers are talking about the possible effects of VR, that it can be even way worse than our smartphones and social media. Imagine instead of going on the Amazon website and ordering what you want, you're going to see the picture and everything. But imagine in VR, you being in Amazon, you picking what you want and then seeing it in front of you. And when you add it to your cart, there's a cart in front of you and you see the item inside the cart. And when you do the checkout and you're paying, there's a person in front of you asking you these questions. What's your Visa card? What's your PIN number? What's your password? What's your phone number? What's the address? You finish your order and she says, "Thank you very much for shopping with Amazon and have a wonderful day." Now, this is definitely worse than the Amazon app right now or the website. And as a proof that simply Amazon itself is affecting social interactions a lot is that Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, not long ago, I think a week or a couple of weeks ago, and by the time you watch this course, maybe it's way longer, his net worth is around now at almost $150 billion. And of course, it's because sales and Amazon itself is growing so fast. because there's a lot of people ordering on it. And all of these people ordering on it, when they did, they avoided social interaction. Now, moving on to the next exercise. We're going to be talking about networking. Talking, listening, explaining, arguing, sharing, meeting. Networking can have huge plasticity benefits that can change the game for you. And at the same time, it can have a lot of non-beneficial effects on you and your brain structure. When you talk to someone, when you have a friend and you guys always talk about the exact same things, you talk about partying, for example, or you talk about going out and seeing people. You talk about video games, you talk about books. And if you guys stay friends for a long time and you keep the same kind of conversations, it's going to become hardwired in both of your brains. It's going to become a lifestyle. And just as a quick example, let's look today at kids. Kids who swear and say a lot of curse words and insults, and other kids that don't. Most of the times, this is due to parental factors. This is due to some influence in their lives, and it's all coming from their talking. Maybe it's their parents. Every time they talk to them, they say a lot of swearing words. Maybe when their mom and dad are arguing, they say a lot of swear words. And of course, they picked it up, and then they get to a certain age. After repeating these words for 10, 12 years, they get to a certain age where they would say the word fuck or shit 50 times in a single conversation without even noticing it. And in fact, a lot of times when I was in class, there were people who were asking questions, and then instead of saying things, they would say shit, or they would say some other curse words, and then just laugh and say sorry. And there, you know that it's unconscious. He did not mean to say it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have apologized. And of course, what is directly linked to talking is listening. If somebody can't hear, he's not going to be affected by talking at all. And of course, when you talk, you listen, and they go hand in hand. Explaining is also a part of talking. Arguing, sharing, and meeting people. These are all social interaction structures that are linked together. They go hand in hand. When you talk, you might explain, you're going to argue, people are going to listen, you're going to share some knowledge, you're going to share some knowledge or memories. The first time you're going to meet someone, you guys are going to meet and talk and listen and explain and share. It's a big structure. Social interaction is a huge structure. One part of social interaction is looking people in the eyes. Just the fact that you're looking at a person, you're looking at a new face that you never saw before, is better than looking at the floor. Unless you're walking on Hollywood's Walk of Fame and you're looking at all the names on the stars, there is no reason to look on the floor or look at your phone when there are people passing by you who are looking at you and you're not looking back. And Forbes wrote an article about this just to show people how important it is to lock eye contact. And the article, it says that the impact of eye contact is so powerful because it's instinctive and connected with the human's early survival patterns. So of course it's linked to our evolution. We respond in a positive or negative way to dilated pupils that signals attraction, increased blink rates caused by stress, and darting eyes that underscore discomfort or defensiveness. And of course, the first step to networking is eye contact. If you want to network with people and not through the phone, the first step is eye contact. If you don't look them in the eyes, you're not going to talk to them. And they're not going to talk to you, of course. Sometimes when you want to say something to someone, maybe you want to talk to a girl or a guy, if they're on their phone and they have their earphones plugged in their ears, you're just going to say, nah, it's not the right time. Like, it's uncomfortable. It's going to be awkward. But if he's just sitting there looking around and he actually looked at you and you looked back, then it's going to become much easier to go and talk to him. Now, the other side of networking is building connections, of course. The more connections you have, the more people you can reach, the more people you talk to, the more knowledge you got and the more experience you got from these people, And of course, the more your brain is going to develop, the more you're going to ensure positive neuroplasticity, especially if you follow the first thing we talked about, which is mirroring. If you're an entrepreneur and you have an entire network of entrepreneurs and business owners, everybody mirroring everybody. Today, entrepreneurs living the hustle life. There isn't an entrepreneur who would say nowadays, I work from 9 to 12 p.m. Like nobody would say, no entrepreneur will say, I work 3-4 hours a day. Everybody, and even if they don't do it, they will say, I work every single day, 12 hours, 15 hours, and I'm putting in the work. And most of the times, they're full of BS. But the mirroring itself that's coming through your networking has a huge positive effect on you. So make sure to expand your network and your connections, and make sure that these connections and these networks that you're forming, they match your goals and your aspirations. They match what you want to wire in your brain, what you want to use to ensure effective neuroplasticity. And as a tip, make sure that when you're walking in the street, unless there's something really important on your phone, make sure to make eye contact with people passing by you. This by itself will have a huge impact on you. And worst case scenario, if it didn't do you any good, it will increase your confidence, because it's not that easy to look at someone in the eye, especially if you don't know them, especially if you think that they're attractive. It'll be way harder to look at them. But repeating it over and over again, then your brain gets comfortable with it. Then it might get to a point where you would look at someone and you wouldn't look away until they look away. And believe me, this will increase your confidence. This will give you more opportunities to network, because you're always looking at people straight in the eyes. So if they want something, they're going to come and talk to you. You guys already locked eyes. They're going to come and they're going to talk to you. Same thing goes for if you saw someone and you wanted to talk to them and you guys locked eye contact, it's much, much easier. You see someone that you're attracted to, you look them in the eyes instead of just saying, wow, he's really attractive, and then looking back at your phone. If you look at them and they look at you and you smile and they smile back, boom, bingo, you made it. And that brings us to our last exercise, which is social pressure and your comfort zone. Using society as a positive source of pressure can be a very effective way to build networks faster. When you feel good about society, when you have people you want to talk to in the real world and not just on your phone, this is going to ensure positive pressure on you when it comes to social situations and social interactions. And social structures, they create the comfort zone, your number one enemy. There will be no new experiences. There will be no new knowledge if you don't get out of your comfort zone. If you are comfortable with ordering everything on Amazon, even if research told you that this is not good for you, always ordering stuff online is not good for you, you will probably not stop it because this is your comfort zone. And I don't want it to seem that simple. Getting out of the comfort zone is one of the hardest things to do. And that's why it's your number one enemy. Because even though it's one of the hardest things to do, it's one of the most rewarding things. Every single habit, every single new experience is going to demand some kind of getting out of the comfort zone. In some situations, you will have to put way more energy to get out of your comfort zone compared to situations where it will be a bit easier to get out of your comfort zone. So for a shy, introverted person, it will be way harder to go talk to someone they're attracted to. But for a person who is extroverted, who has a lot of confidence and he's outgoing and a social person, it'll be easier for him to go talk to someone he's or she's attracted to. And the exercise is, you need to write a list of all the things that you don't feel comfortable doing, but that you want to do. Maybe as the example we gave before, you want to talk to people you're attracted to and not feeling your heart beating so fast and feeling uncomfortable about it. Maybe you've been slacking on going to the gym because you're a bit fat or chubby and you just don't feel comfortable going there and seeing people with a lot of nice bodies when you're still trying to get there. Write everything that's making you feel uncomfortable but that you actually want to do. And then work it up, step by step. If you don't feel comfortable going full thrown on it, go step by step. Start, for example, by talking to girls you're not attracted to. Try to build up your confidence with these girls. And maybe then you'll feel more comfortable talking to girls you're attracted to, but not really asking them out yet. The more you talk to them, then you're going to take the step and you're going to actually ask them out. And it all happened because you went step by step to get out of your comfort zone. So imagining that the comfort zone is like a circle. And then to go from not being able to talk to an attractive girl to asking the girl out is you enlarging this comfort zone circle 2 or 3 times. But when you work step by step, instead of jumping from where you are to 3 times the comfort zone, you will go 1 time, then 2 times, and then 3 times. And the second method is guaranteed. The first method is risky and it demands a lot of willpower, a lot of motivation, a lot of drive, and a lot of confidence. And most importantly, a why behind it. And we talked about having a why before, and by now you guys know why it's essential. Just as a quick reminder, when we talk about your why, we're not talking about your why in life, we're talking about your why as things you want to do. Why do you want to go to the gym? Why do you want to talk to a girl you're attracted to? Why do you want to study and get good grades? This is the why we're talking about. So all of these different exercises that were listed are essential to ensure first social plasticity, and of course, which will lead to neuroplasticity, connecting and linking neurons in a beneficial way, developing beneficial habits, beneficial integration behaviors that you need. And the more you're consistent with the behaviors you want to reinforce, the faster and the more likely you are to wire them in your brain. And the less consistent you are and the more control you have over situations that you want to block out of your life, the faster it'll be for you to cut this link between neurons and just break the neural structure that's causing this thing. And that's it for social plasticity.